truth, what do you call it? Ground truthing. So it beats logic to get one and not get the other. So the challenge here, when I've heard you speak, is that we have a problem with sequencing government projects and programs. For example, Rivertex in Eldoret, investment was put into it, state-of-the-art factory. But unfortunately, you did not promote local growing of cotton first. Therefore, they are importing cotton, so it's not benefiting the locals. On edible oil, there's been a lot of talk about we don't want importation of edible oil. But by now, we should have marshaled all our farmers to grow sunflower, canola, coconut, so that by the time you're bringing the industry to come and make edible oil here in Kenya, we have the raw material. When it comes to rice, again, we want to stop importation of rice, but there is no corresponding program to promote maximizing the growing of rice. So even if we say we are going to be milling our rice in big numbers so as not to import, we haven't done the first things first. Sequencing is a clear problem. On the issue of clinker, we have put levy on clinker, but we did not ensure that we have sufficient clinker deposits in the country and that are already being mined, so that as we put the levy, we ensure that we have enough deposits in the country. That is why the price of cement has hardly changed. So can you confirm that when you become the minister, if we confirm you, of investments, trade and industry, you will ensure that you have a Gantt chart at your desk, a dashboard where you can actually make sure the sequencing is correct for it to make economic logic? Because that seems to be the only problem. Do we have your confirmation, sir? Speaker,
on the same, during the finance bill on the sanitary towels, it's the same thing. The raw materials are expensive for the manufacturers, local manufacturers, and that is why during the amendments, Honorable Leah now brought amendments to exempt the raw materials. So there has to be a sequence, not just putting taxes on the on the imports, and we're not dealing on the raw materials.
He hasn't given assurance.
He will give when he starts answering.
Mr. Speaker, there is one issue I wanted to bring in conclusion to the attention of the nominee. Mr. Speaker, in the ministry is going to, in the 2 years that have passed, or 1.5 years, there was a program that was done in that ministry of importing edible oil of billions of shillings through KNTC. And that edible oil ended up staying in the stores of KNTC close to a year, I think, until it expired, or it is still there, or it was sold. I can't ascertain. And recently, the managing director of KNTC was taken to court, I think last week or the other week. And the government looks like the government lost a colossal amount of money, billions of shillings. And that program was meant to lower the cost of living. At that time, the cost of edible oil was very high, so it was thought that if it is imported, it can reduce. But it ended up coming here more expensive than the locally manufactured one. So how do you, that ghost is waiting for you in that ministry, if you are approved by this committee. Are you willing to go into that ministry with that kind of ghost, or what do you think? I'm sure you have done your survey, or how will you handle that matter? Because it's going to wait for you there.
Maybe as a supplementary to that one, a quick one, do we still need KNTC as a trader of commodities in the current world free market?
Mini, can you start with the undertaking, then cascade down?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You see the question that Honorable Gladys raised is not a yes and no. I have to say something to affirm. Of course, I will be affirming.
We are running out of time, so be very...
Yeah, but this is pertinent, Mr. Speaker. If I don't get it right here, I'll be misquoted.
Okay.
First thing is that the geo-survey and the ground truthing were funded. Geo-survey, then we realized we needed ground truthing. We requested for, not simultaneous, separately, when I went in, I then made the proposal to do ground truthing. It was funded. Some money was removed during supplementary, but as I said earlier, some work has gone on in 24 counties. Secondly, on the issue of river takes and all these others, I want to give an undertaking. Using my project management skills, the sequence will change. I know the sequence also involves other government agencies. My undertaking is that I will provide leadership to ensure that if it is funding, if it is decisions, we do on all steps so that we don't end up where we have ended. I know, right?
Thank you. Then I now have an audio-visual evidence of
exactly, exactly. And I want to, we will be playing it, Mr. Speaker, at some point to see how things are moving. And I know there is an issue with edible oil about the imposition of levy for crude palm oil. It is the current matter for discussion. And as you rightly put it, Madam Mheshimiwa, the levy was not in bad faith. However, it is the sequencing, because the levy was meant to promote the local manufacturers to, at this time, to have worked with farmers, the sunflower farmers and other farmers, to have edible oil value added here in the country. So sequencing, again, has brought a challenge. On that particular matter, I'll be working with the National Treasury, the manufacturers, so that we can see an amicable resolution to that matter, which is very live in public. I'm sure Mheshimiwa Naisula was adding the sequence issue, so I really don't need to respond to. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure this House, even though there are challenges that have happened with the KNTC, upon approval, I will report to the ministry. I have no fears, Mheshimiwa Junet. I will go to the ministry. I'm aware that there are legal proceedings going on with the issues that have been raised. We will allow the legal process to continue. But the action for me upon approval is to now rethink KNTC and see how we can do basic reforms to make it more effective or make other decisions. So, Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah, that is something that I'm also thinking about, seeing the kind of reforms. It is not responding to whether we need it, but when we do an analysis and the reforms, then we will come up with a good decision.
Is it under among the 47 that you passed in cabinet to get rid of?
I'm not, I haven't looked at the list, Mr. Speaker, but what I'm saying is whichever way we look at basic reforms to make it more efficient.
But my question was CS, because we are here to ascertain your capacity and ability to take over that ministry. In your opinion, under the current liberalized market, KNTC is the old thinking, where you needed government to trade in commodities to regulate pricing. Do we honestly need KNTC, in your own opinion?
In my own opinion, Mr. Speaker, we don't need the KNTC in its current fashion. And that is why I talked about reforms.
And you must have the courage to do those things to save public money.
Yeah,
now, before I come to mundane questions,
Mr. Speaker.
We must come to an end. We must come to an end.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there is only one question that has been sent asking you, nominee, that there's a command called Kenatco, which is still in GOK books as a parastatal 100% owned by ICDC. It has been under stage managed receivership for over 27 years. What measures will you put in place to simply wind it up or privatize it?
Mr. Speaker,
You know Kenatico.